Hey everybody, this is Michael Whitaker and we're going to get into sound design. What if I told you that the orchestral score that's in your DAW right now can be reimagined and become something nobody's ever heard before? You know, it can become a living soundscape that bends texture and becomes otherworldly. Well, we're going to get into that today. All right, before we dive in, I want you to grab something that I've done a ton of research for you. It's the ultimate sound design guide for film scoring. I've put together a lot of information on sound design. It's in the link below. Go ahead and grab it. It's completely free. All right, for the rest of this video, we're going to look at samplers, not for MIDI mockups, but as sound design tools, as sculpting tools. And today we're going to reshape your orchestra. Let's get started. All right, so the first thing we're going to get into is using your sampler. In this case, I'm using Contact, but you can also use just your whole MIDI palette, you know, any instrument in your orchestra. But specifically, we're going to create an ostinato. An ostinato is a loop. It's a pattern, a phrase pattern that often the orchestral elements will do. For example, let me just play it for you. This is a string ostinato. It's that back and forth thing. All right, and I'm playing that on the keyboard. And this is called, by the way, this is by Sonic Kinetic. This is called Minimal, and I really love this library because you can add other elements to it, like woodwinds and brass. Like if I was to change this and make this, I could make this a brass section as opposed to a string section, and we would get something like this with brass and woodwinds. And you can create all kinds of loops with this, and it's kind of pre-done real loops, so it sounds amazing. All right, so here's the string loop by itself recorded. Pretty basic. So we have to come up with some sonic material from the orchestra. So one really easy thing to do if you have Cubase is you can easily drop this into a sampler track like this, and right away you're going to be able to, if you hit the audio warp button down here, you're going to be able to play it on your keyboard. So I'm playing that sample. And you can play different notes and they will match the tempo together. You can also do that in Contact. If you go hit the wrench in the upper left-hand corner and you create a sample. We don't have time to show you how to add a sample to Contact, but you can do the same thing in Contact. And already you can come up with some really interesting textures. You can filter these things. Do this sort of thing, which is really cool. We're not going to use Contact in this instance. What we're going to do is we're going to load this into another sampler, and we're going to use Omnisphere. All right, here's Omnisphere. If you don't have Omnisphere, that's completely okay. You can use Contact. You can use any sampler that you have in your DAW. Logic has one. Ableton has one. The Cubase has one. So, you know, don't worry about that. But we're going to be stacking sounds. But Omnisphere has a really powerful engine that we're going to explore a little bit later. And it also has a lot of amazing sounds built in, and it's going to save us time. So to start out, we're going to just go into Omnisphere and clear all the sounds out of it. And the way you do that is you go up to Utility, and you're going to hit Clear Multi. And you hit OK, and that will empty all the sounds that are loaded in there. All right, so to start out, Omnisphere is awesome because you can load your own samples into it. And to load your own sample, you're going to go back up to Utility, and you're going to go down here, scroll down to User Audio, click on that, and then you're going to go to a place in your hard drive that you have your samples. Now, if you've made an orchestral loop or you made something in Cubase, you're going to have to bounce that to audio. So you're going to have to save that as an audio file. And I believe Omnisphere, it has to be 16-bit to load in. So now that I've loaded the sample in, all I have to do is hit play on my MIDI keyboard, and we have that sound now playing and looping. It's actually not looping, it's just playing. It'll run out eventually inside of Omnisphere. All right, so you can do a similar thing. The thing in Omnisphere that is different than Cubase, you can't lock the tempo of all notes. So, but sometimes that's to our advantage because we can pitch shift things down and create different tempos with it. So let's start by taking this sample and let's do a little mangling to it. All right, so our goal is to take this string ostinato and really mangle it so we can use it more as a pulse. And what we're going to do, if you notice, if you go down 2 octaves in your playing, here's the normal sample. Just by going down an octave, it's going to be half speed. And then down another octave, you're going to get that. And you can combine them, which in itself is pretty cool. All right, so the second element that we're going to look at is an arpeggiated bass line. It's just a very simple bass line that sounds like this. And you want to make sure that it's not too in your face. All right, so I've kind of filtered that down. And let's listen now to the strings and that bass together. We get something like this. Which is by itself is kind of cool. But it still sounds like orchestra. You know, we're still just adding elements at this point. So I'm going to add a third element here, which is going to be a lead sound. Very simple synth sound, analog synth. And you can copy these if you have Omnisphere. Let's take a listen to this. Very simple. So now we have 3 octaves that play at different paces. And I think with that third, that analog sound, I'm going to filter this down even more. And here's where kind of the magic happens. So you've inputted your loop into here that you've made, and it could be a lead sound, it could be whatever you want. And we're going to start adding some plugins to it. The first plugin I'm going to add is this plugin that I use all the time. It's called Dirt, and this is a distortion. And you can overdo it with this. I mean, it depends on what you're trying to do. But let's turn this on. When we play this really low one, we can really kind of get, even if we just played the strings down there, it's already sounding a little bit more otherworldly. We'll add the other elements to it. Nice. All right, so the next thing we want to be able to do is filter this thing out. So I've added in Cubase, I use Nuendo, but same difference. I've added this morph filter. And one thing you want to do is assign the filter to a fader. So if I move this fader, we can see that this filter is going to move. And as this filter moves, we can radically change the sound. So a lot of times we want it darker, so we could go for something like this. And we can even increase tension. So we can, just for some perspective, let's go back to our original loop that we started with right here. All right, and we're already at we're at this now with the filter. All right, for the next step, I like to put on this analog channel 202. It's a modeled channel from a mix console, but it also has a compressor built in. So here's without it, here's with it. It just makes everything pop. And in the sound design world, we can lose some fidelity. And I like to, after this filter, add the analog channel 202. Really cool. And finally, we're going to add to this one, we're going to add another secret weapon, which is Ubermod. Ubermod is known for choruses and delays, but it has this secret section of reverbs that they don't really advertise, but it's amazing. And it sounds to me better than other shimmer reverbs that are out there. They're very expansive kind of reverbs, and you can color this to taste, but this will make it sound even more paddy and sound designish. So let's check out. Even playing a couple of these, like smashing some notes together, you can get some interesting sound design textures. All right, so that's our first use of the sampler. We're going to take that same sampler, or that same sample, that string loop, and we're going to throw it into a granular synth. And we're going to use granular synthesis to create a kind of evolving morphing pad out of it. Let's get on that one. All right, now we've turned off all the other stuff and we're back to our regular original sample that we loaded into Omnisphere. In this case, I'm going to hit where it says GRN. I'm going to click on that and it's going to bring up our granular synthesis module. All right, so here we can see this waveform of the piano that we have. I'm going to turn the granular part off and I can just play it normal. But as soon as I turn this granular part on, what it does is it splits this whole thing into grains, so sample bits. You know, imagine you have the waveform and it will literally zoom in and pull it apart and allow you to move through parts of this sample in a really interesting way. Now, if I was to play this with granular on and I keep this speed button on, it'll kind of move and make it interesting. And it'll kind of, you know, you could reverb this out if you want. And it could just be really interesting to move. Just kind of random textures, you know. But what we're going to focus on is if you hit position, now it will move exactly through this wherever, when you hit play, it's going to hold this somewhere. And I can move this through. And I'm going to turn off this reverb and you'll really hear it. This works really cool with vocals too. Now we can, if we right click on here, we can modulate this with an LFO. So if you know about LFOs, you can assign this to go through your samples and to go back and forth with the time of the tempo of your song or track. But in this case, we're going to modulate it with the wheel here. And this is your mod wheel, right? And so right now it should, if I hit the mod wheel, it should move around. And I got to hold it. And now I'm moving the mod wheel and it's allowing me to move through my sample. Really cool. Now let's put those other elements back on there, the same kind of thing we had set up before, and we'll listen to that, using the mod wheel to move through the sounds to kind of change it. Really cool, right? Like it just makes it to a whole nother thing. So you can experiment with this. Also, these elements, this like using FM on this, I'm not sure if FM will work with the granular synthesis on at the same time. Maybe it will. Let's try that. Turn the reverb down, we'll really hear it. That's changing that waveform, slowing it down. And now we're like in alien territory. Really cool, right? So that's FM. You have a ring modulator. Let's go to that. Or was I on that? No. Which does the same thing. A little different. So you can start making pulses. It's cool for dubstep. But also just creating pulses. And again, you can move through with the mod wheel at the same time. Really powerful. And then they have this wave shaper, which kind of can add some crunch to it. If I take this off with it, so it can add distortion. So, and then you have a unison where it's basically adding multiple layers of the same sound. I hear it working a lot on this one. Let's turn that off. And then you have this harmonia, which allows you to pitch shift things into chords. So that's Omnisphere's oscillator section really quickly. But you can imagine if you start to think of your orchestral music as just you write something, you write a lead, and maybe you keep some of the original parts in there. You know, you keep the real French horn, you keep the real string section in there, but then you bounce everything into your sampler and you go through this process to kind of tweak it. And then you bring them back together and then you kind of marry those two together. You can get some really amazing textures and effects, and you can get just a more modern, cooler sound. All right, for the final part of this little tutorial, I want to show you the Arturia Pigments, and it's a really easy one to kind of load in and use granular synthesis, and it has a lot of things built into it that you can do. We definitely don't have time to go through all the features of this, but if you at the top it has these three different engines, and what you're going to do is turn off the utility engine or the engine 2 and just keep with engine 1 and make sure it's on sample. right? And then, so then when you click on this, it will allow you to add a folder from your hard drive with your own samples to this. So what I've done is I have a sample of a piano loop, and let's check that out. This loop I did in Cubase, and I imported this. And that's just me playing piano. But we're going to use the granular mode in here to create an evolving pad. And I also like to turn on this filter up here. And so now we can really kind of tweak how much brightness is in there. It's a low pass filter, right? That's 2 octaves down, which is really cool by itself, right? Really cool. Yeah. All right, now let's go here. Let's turn on this granular mode. And what's interesting, it'll scan forward through this loop, or it'll scan backwards through this loop, depending on what you want. And this will really affect the sound, but let me give you an idea of what it's doing right off the bat. Similar to Omnisphere. So really cool. Like, you don't even know what it is anymore after you've done this process. All right, I'm going to show you a couple more plugins that I really like. One of these is called Freak, and I believe this is by Native Instruments. And this is just this will do a filter frequency sweep here. There we go. And you can kind of just subtly add those kind of elements. All right, so the final thing I want to show you, it comes in Cubase or Nuendo, and it's this transformer. And it's really cool because you can create pulses. They have different wave shapes up here. And then as you add depth, you can change the pitch, or you can make it have kind of a stepping feature. And now we have another pulse. All right. All right, so now let's take a video. This is a scene from the movie Gravity. We have a monthly composer meetup called The Inner Circle, and the link will be below. We score a different scene from a movie every month, and this month we're focusing on sound design. Join us on one of our meetings. It's awesome. It's really fun, and we learn so much in this. We break down way more than you're learning in this video, but you also get a chance to use this in real world, because at the end of the day, all this stuff doesn't really mean anything unless you apply it to film scoring. So I'm just going to kind of play some video and mess around with that sound, that string arpeggiation that we came up with.
Copy all. Put a bow on it, Dr. Stone.
I can't. The board is still initializing.
I'm not going to ask you again.
1 second.
Not 1 second, now. Shut it down. That's an order.
Okay, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, I'm done. I'm done.
All right, Sharif, let's do this.
Roger that.
Houston, update?
Well, we have a full-on chain reaction. It's been confirmed that it's the unintentional side effect of the Russians striking the homegrown satellite.
All right, so let's stop there. All right, now let's use this texture we made in Pigments. Remember, it was the piano loop turned into this kind of texture. And so we're going to add some tension with this over that other part.
The board is still initializing.
I'm not going to ask you again.
1 second.
Not 1 second, now. Shut it down. That's an order.
Okay, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, I'm done. I'm done.
All right, Sharif, let's do this. Houston, update?
Well, we have a full-on chain.
And so you can see we're starting to add tension to this cue. And then maybe finally we would go back to our orchestra. We would add other real orchestral elements in there. Let's add this is Aaron Venture French horns, and let's add, we'll just make it a little more beefy. And we're also gonna kind of use Ubermod on these and use a ton of reverb just to kind of make it also sound designy in the background. And let's see what this can. Yeah.
Copy all. Put a bow on it, Dr. Stone.
I can't. The board is still initializing.
I'm not going to ask you again.
1 second.
Not 1 second, now. Shut it down. That's an order.
Okay, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, I'm done. I'm done.
All right, Sharif, let's do this. Houston, update?
Well, we have a full-on chain reaction. It's been confirmed that it's the unintentional side effect of the Russian sound effect.
They shut down their own stuff.
All right, so there we go. We're just creating on the spot, but this is the fun part of it when it can actually be used in a real score. All right, so hopefully this was useful to you and you're kind of opening your mind to using samplers and sound design in a different way even with your traditional orchestra. Don't forget to pick up your sound design guide below. I know you're going to love going through that and finding some amazing tools that maybe you didn't even know about. Also, if you're interested in film scoring, I would encourage you to check out our academy at scorecraftacademy.com. Also, I'd love to hear from you in the comments. Let me know what you want to hear and what you want to learn. And I love being able to help you on your journey of film scoring, and we'll see you on the next video.